Good morning, guys, and welcome to I Punt Smart preview for Greyville Poly today. Standard conditions: 7.5 millimeters of rain in the last 24 hours, and also in the last 7 days, so that should be okay. And we start off on the first race at 12:20. Interesting card today. I think it should pay. So in the first. We've made some notes at the bottom here about every race as we go along. Alma Mater looks pretty decent. He has had 19 runs to date since, but he's coming from a little bit of a rest now. And I really enjoy the bat figure here on 1.85 over the 1200 Greyville Poly Blue Bat, which is the exact same course and the exact same distance, Greyville Poly 1200 meters. And the fact that we see intent now with Shimanga Kumalo on board, he does have a 33% chance to place for the season, but Daryl Moore's only runner for the day, so I'm expecting some improvement coming from that little bit of a rest. The last time it ran on the 13th of September. And Love on Time is definitely only on his fourth run, and his last was a better bat figure. So definitely in it. That is definitely Dean Cunninghams' best chance for the day as well by the looks of things. So those two will be my first two selections. I do have respect for the only runner Gunsmoke from the Gareth Van Sale yard with Tristan Godden booked. 12-1, watch for any support there. That could be something. And then Firu Star, it's one of the two best ones for Puller and Marcus, so there's intent there, but it seems it could be the carrot. And then the other one I'd like to mention is Giambattista. It was a decent run on the first run, so there is improvement expected. It is over the 200 meters further. They weren't expecting it because it was drifting from 10 into 25-1. And the bat figure was okay with a 7, so could have some more improvement expected here. Moving on to the second race, and in the second year, some notes that I've made. The first one is Estival, and Estival's very decent rating. On there's some veal intent here, and I also see a decent rated Orion of a Trust in the next race. And then Lake Cuomo is seems to be by far the best runner for Doug Campbell chances today. Does have Donovan Dillon on board, so I'm not sure why Keegan the Miller is not riding. Broadway looks like he's got the best chances for Duncan Howells today. Without a doubt has some decent ratings for a 12-1 shot. And then Fantastic Impact, decent rating. Kennedy was booked, but Kennedy is not at the course today. So now I see Jacobson is booked. Not sure how that's going to change the chances for Fantastic Impact, but definitely someone to mention. And Prettier in Pink could be a decent prospect to place at 25-1 with a little bit more improvement. He's only having his 6th run. Moving on to the third race, and here Orion of Adrust, the Dennis Dreyer and Sean Veal combination again does have the best green bats here by quite some margin. So that's green bat means it's confirmed over the same distance category over today's course and distance, where Sparkling Flame has by far much better red bat figures, but the red bat figures just means it's outside the distance category. So looking at that in a bit more detail, we see today's in 900 meters, and the 900 meters Greyville course was a 16.14 bat figure. That's in lengths. And that was on the grass. On the Greyville Poly over the 1600, he did have some very good 2.13 and 2.55 scores, but he hasn't showed us that he can do that over the further distance. But those two were both on grass. The 1750, he did a 12, and the 1900, he did a 16. So I haven't seen the 1900 very good bat figures to that effect yet. And for that reason, the 1800s here of Orion of Adrust does appeal to me with that 9.4 bat figure over the same similar course and distance. The other one, also Port Adelaide, 1800 Greyville Poly, did a 18.54, but 1600 Greyville Poly did a 1.96. So still a question to be answered whether he can actually do the same 1.96 over the further distance. And doesn't seem too much else that can win this race. Others to mention, maybe Luck of the Irish. He looks better than his stablemate, but the stablemate has markers up. And Luck of the Irish had some support here over the same course and distance. Then Bell Star Duster could maybe run a place for Mundalan Thuli's only ride for the day, but his bats seems too far off to actually even get close to the winner's box. And then Lovely Lady, Yaraf Singh has been in really good form, and Nyokwe has his only runner for the day. And they're going 500 meters further. There was no beating support previously, but the bat figures weren't all that bad. And it does pop up on median speed, which is pace. So if he can do that kind of pace, now with the blinkers fitted, with the 53 kilos on board, he could be the one that tries to get away from the rest of the field and maybe a decent place prospect. Moving on to the fourth race. And in the fourth, I think this is potentially one of the biggest troublesome races for the day. I do think that it is a tough one to get through, but I'll start with Monarchy. Monarchy is very well rated for a 12 to 100 shot, and it does have Sparkling Flame for Miller before this, and therefore I think that's one to consider. You can see the bat figures of 5.32, a little bit ahead of the rest of the field. Smart William is a 6.42, so that's only a 1.1 length difference. So Smart William would be the next one to mention. Then Tiger Tank is an only runner for Nathan Kotson, with Kumalo being booked. Catch the Tune is still a spring chicken, as you can see here, and he's trying out the distance, but his red bat figures is 5 lengths better than the field on 1.12 or 4.2 better than the rest of the field. So definitely want to be considered for the pick 6 as well on Catch the Tune. And then Lord of the Manor, he's well in on his bat 42 form, so his last 42 days, that 6-figure year is definitely well in there, and he's an only runner for Dixon and does have the Melo intent, although the Melo didn't do all that well on him the previous time when Dixon was the Melo didn't. You see these the Melo runs here was a 24 and a 13 bat, where Aries had the 6. So yeah, maybe a bit of an outsider, but maybe want to include in the pick 6. Mambo Symphony is a roughie that could make the pick 6 pay. He does have some intent with Sean Veal being backed. He does have a gear change. He's at 25 to 1. He does have some hidden bat 84 form here, which is not far off to the best, only 4 lengths from Smart William. So that could be a little bit of an upset potential. Arrow's Mark is not a bad rated for 16 to 1. Cane Line and Soda had the intent booking with Kennedy, but now we are waiting the new jockey, and there's a blinker change after a long rest, and he does have the best statistical form. So another one that could upset the apple cart here. Policy Target also has a long rest, and Andre Nell has been in really hot form recently, so he can surprise. Kararish Cowboy is another one with Pat Lunn, only runner 25 to 1. He does have to show quite a bit of improvement, but yeah, he is an only runner, and we've seen that does show some very good improvement all of a sudden. So all of those has some kind of a chance. I do like the chances of Monarchy to run in the top 4. So I'll go with him as my first choice, and then Smart William, then Tiger Tank, Catch the Tune, Lord of the Manor, Mambo Symphony, Arrows Mark. Moving on to the 5th race, and yes, potentially for me the best bet on the card. If I'm just simply looking at bat figures here, After the scratching of Gentleman's Way, we now have a 3-length advantage on African Skyline. That's only had the 6 runs. And Flying Grace has had 15 runs, which is the next best on 3 lengths worse. So he'll be my second choice with Gavin Larena booked. Another thing to actually mention here is you can see the 1600 Greyville Polyform on his last run with Jason Gates being booked was a 1.6, with Aries being booked is a 1.68 bat figure. Interesting to note that the previous time Jason Gates did run on him, it was a 6.56 and followed it up with an Aries over the Greyville Poly winner at 4.86, which was 2 lengths better. And now he does it also the Aries and Gates combination. And the last time the 1600 Greyville Poly was the best bat, 1.68. So I think African Skyline is a decent proposition for today. My second choice there would be Flying Grace, decent rating as well, with Gavin Larena being booked on the intent side. But looking at that in a bit more detail, Gavin Larena did disappoint the previous time with his 17.1, judging on the 7.4 and the 10.24 before that. So he did get Jason Gates on board, which jumped off and ran to African Skyline. So that says for me, African Skyline is my better option. I'm going to go therefore with African Skyline, followed by Flying Grace, and third best for me, Master of Destiny. He looks the next best for the dryer after the double intentions on race 2 and 3. The others are probably just place prospects. Prince of Taranto, Living Waters is an okay 10-1 for Teeny Prinsloo. And Banzai Pipeline, yeah, he seems capable on his bat CD. If he does a little bit of improvement from his rest, you can see the 1600 Greyville Poly bat CD of 6.76 is not all that 6.76 lengths versus 1.68 lengths. He's still got 5 lengths to find on African Skyline, but he does come from a rest. And therefore it could be a little bit more dangerous today. But my 3 main ones is probably African Skyline, Flying Grace, and Master of Destiny. In the 6th race, interesting here, Sniper Shot. He was well rated, and Kennedy was the booking, only 1 of 2 for Lafferty. Now he got another booking. Now the Milo is booked, and that seems to be a decent change from the form that Gumere got out of him previously. So if I look at Sniper Shot, now look at the Milo here over the 1200, he ran second on the Greyville Poly with a 6.35 bat figure. Now recently Gumere did very well with him, given he's got a 7.7 and a 3.8 and a 3.7, and now they bring the Milo back to replace Gumere. So I think Sniper Shot is in there. My next would be Ad Altissima. Ad Altissima doesn't have the proven 1400 form, but it is Mace Roberts, only 2 for the day, and he's made some very nice improvement into the 0.63 figures. There was some big betting support on his last run, and he almost got there. So Ad Altissima is one to respect at 12-1. And then Chatterton's Keeper. Keeper is definitely the best chance for Wendy Whitehead today. And there is some Kumalo intent here with Kumalo booked again. Kumalo did win on him on a 3.84. He did get a little bit of a knock, but there was big support on him last time. So he must be in there. And then Burning Wings is also decently rated. Marcus Intent, possible double chance with Imba JJ. Tread Swiftly, okay rated. And then the stable coupling Caliente and Via Solaria. It's both coming from a rest. And judging on what Dennis Dreyer has for the day, he could make up those. So this is probably a field race for me in the pick 6. But yeah, from a selections criteria, I'll go with Sniper Shot, Ad Altissimo, Chatterton's Keeper, Burning Wings, Tread Swiftly, Caliente, Via Solaria. Moving on to the 7th race, and for me, a bit of a value pick here is the only runner, Her Royal Majesty, only runner for Yogus Govender, and Ashton Aries is booked. Now, what I liked about it was the consistency indicator, which is the BAT CD form, the BAT curve. Now, what the BAT curve does is it checks on a curve, a weighted average curve, the last 8 months of runs, and adjusts the weights and adjusts the distances behind the winner, and it says based on that who was the most consistent runner over the last 8 months. And on that, we have a 4.78 lengths consistency reward for Her Royal Majesty. And Her Royal Majesty is coming back from a rest as a only runner with Ashton Aries booked, with a 20.83% chance to win for the Yogus Govender stable. So that does make it a value bet for me from a one draw with a support from the P-stats. We've seen probability stats 39 previous races over the Greyville Poly 1000 Class D. And in those 39 races, the top rated to finish first did come with a 23% chance to win. Now, 23% chance to win for a 12-to-1 shot is pretty decent from that one draw. If we look at the place prospects, not all that great. 44% chance on the top 3, and the place prospects on top 4 just gets over halfway, 53% chance on top 4. My second choice here is voice notes, which could be the potential double for Bardenau's Kennedy connections. They also look very well rated, and with Retail Therapy in the next race, which is our top rated, that could be the potential double as well. It does have the better bat forms, and you can see it was better than the Her Royal Majesty's last bat 84 form. So he could probably be the right one, but I do like the odds on Her Royal Majesty. And then my third would be Imber JJ. If Burning Wings has some good form or runs well, then Imber JJ becomes a little bit more of an interest for me, but currently he's my third choice, with Casa Rosada my fourth choice. And I will also look at African Skyline Race 5 to see if Puller is pulling that off for the potential double chance here, because he does have some hidden form on the BAT 84 with a 4.91 lengths. Brings him right in here with the rest, 4.28, 4.7, 4.9. So voice notes in BJJ and Casa Rosada is all up there, but my Rafi, Her Royal Majesty. So those 4 is my first 4. The others to consider maybe for place chances. Beckoning Beauty is not a bad 10-to-1 for a place chance. Denaya shows intent with Kamalo, but he doesn't have a great rating. Achilles Fate is Mace Roberts, 1 of 2 for the day. I'll first check with Adultissima. If Adultissima runs well, then maybe Achilles Fate can also surprise a little bit. Moving on to the last race, and here we have Retail Therapy, which is my second value for the day. And I actually think that Jason Gates should have a really decent day today. You can see Retail Therapy pops up here as first. The Barden Kennedy connections, based on greenie points, based on super rule percentage, based on all the bat figures, and the bat CD exact course and distance bat. So he'll be my first choice here. My second choice will be Kings Road, decent rating, 1 of 2 for Binda, with Gavin Lorino also being booked. I don't know why they took the blinkers off again, because he seems to be doing really well with the blinkers the last 2 runs. So maybe it's because it's 200 meters further, and I am very worried about the 2.31 on the 1,000 meters and a 2.91 on the 1,000 meters, and he could not do that over the 1,200 meters. You can see his best over the 1,200 was 8.95 lengths. So for that reason, I think Retail Therapy is my value, with Kings Road second. Third, Giacomo Puccini, which is the only runner for Justin Snaith, with Arthur Marcus being booked. But if I look at the last runs, 1200 Greyville Poly, the blue bat form, judging on the calculations here, 5.69 lengths to 2.21 lengths. So on that, Retail Therapy has a bit of an advantage to Giacomo Puccini if all runs to form. Others to consider potentially is if Edgartown comes into the race. He does have a little bit of form, and he comes from a bit of a rest. He's not far off. He does have the best form and intent ratings with the best bomb roll 168 and bomb roll 84. Winterflight, Voraglow, that coupling, I'd probably go with Winterflight as my better option. He does have a little bit of to find with Retail Therapy and King's Road. King's Road hasn't done that over the 1200 though, so Winterflight will be my next best choice. With Voraglow, the stablemate, and then Quaint Master has surprised me a few times, and he's got Kamalo booking, and he's coming from a rest, so probably worthwhile to throw him into the pick six at 12-1. And another one which I would have some respect for is Here Comes the Rain. And the reason being for Here Comes the Rain is I wouldn't quite make that my first choice, because you can see his 1200 Greyville polyform of 14 and 18 is nowhere close to his 1000 meter of 3.7. So it hasn't shown me that he can do the extra 200 meters, but Kannemeyer is trying him over this distance again, so potentially he thinks that it can do it. He hasn't had any support over the 1200 though. He went from 2 into 5, he went from 7 into 12. Over the 1000 he was backed in from 6 into 4, and over the 1100 he was backed in from 16 into 6. So probably trying to get around the 1200 at Greyville Poly again, but hasn't showed that. So I'm going to stick with my selections in the form of Retail Therapy, King's Road, Giacomo Puccini, Edgartown, Winterflight, Voraglow, Quint Master, and Here Comes the Rain, in that sort of order. And that's all I can tell for you. On the site, you'll see I've made the notes here at the bottom, and you can see the notes there for everyone to as we go through. And all the exotics has been updated here by Pot, PA, Pick 6, Jackpot 1, and Jackpot 2. Have a great day, guys. Speak again sometime soon. Remember, we do have 24 sports available now, of which 16 of those are completely free of charge. So do make use of the site for free. There is 8 other sports that is to pay for, but yeah, there is of course 16 sports that we leave completely free for everyone to use. Have a great day.